Joe Biden just delivered his State of the Union address. So how did he do? Let's break it down. So he started off strong. He compared the historical significance of this event to FDR's addressing Hitler during World War II. He began strong. If you're looking at whether or not he's feeble and old and whether he still has it, you have to say yes, he still has it. He's getting older, but he can deliver with competence, confidence, and clearly. He said to Putin, "I will not back down." He addressed the insurrection of January 6th and the lies of his former predecessor. He refused to name Trump himself. He talked about the abortion bans with a guest who suffered the experiences having dealt with the Supreme Court decision, and even called out the Supreme Court itself. He promoted his accomplishments. He talked about his goals and plans in lowering drug costs, making healthcare available and more affordable, reducing student loan debt. He wants to increase taxes on corporations and billionaires, the ultra wealthy, defending Social Security. He addressed the border bill. He called out Republicans in Congress that killed his bill, that killed the border bill, and when heckled, who would have thought he'd be heckled by Marjorie Taylor Greene? Well, anybody who saw the last State of the Union address, because that's exactly what happened there. He handled that well. He didn't back down. He agreed that this is a problem. This person was killed by a migrant, and he knows what it's like to lose a child. So he totally turned that heckle back onto MGT just like he did last year. So who came out on top of that exchange? It was Joe Biden. And then he emphasized the need for action on a border bill, which the Republicans didn't support. He advocated more voting rights acts, action on climate change. He discussed the importance of more crime prevention and gun control. He went after guns, saying he wants to stop the gun violence, and end the sale of assault weapons. He talked about an assault weapons ban and universal background checks for gun purchases. He addressed the Israel-Palestine conflict, not really being too decisive in calling for an end to it immediately. He seemed to express some sympathy for the tragic consequences that were happening without really calling for an end now. So what was most interesting was the ending, where he talked about beginning his political career, where people telling him he was too young. He's too young. And now what do people say? He's too old. So he's been there. He's done that. He's experienced these comments before and seems to take it in stride. He stumbled at times. He flubbed up his words a little bit. He stammered to a certain extent. But if you watch the thing all the way through, generally speaking, he clearly has energy and competence when he's speaking. He clearly still has his marbles, occasionally throughout the day. I'm sure there's times, because he's getting older more frequently, where he does stumble more on his words. But generally speaking, he clearly can still deliver when he needs to. So he speaks with power. He spoke well. He had a positive message, speaking about the future, saying that he still believes in America. While at the same time, showing some signs of age, being a little bit milquetoast, bland, you could even say. He also did that little whisper thing he gets criticized for as being creepy, where he's making an important point and then he gets quiet because he wants to emphasize what he's saying. It might be a little charming and endearing if it's, like a relative, but for the president, it just comes off a little bit weird and, cringeworthy. So he should really cut that out. So in the end, how could we score Joe Biden's State of the Union address? Well, as a qualified speech instructor, a professor of communication studies, I would give him a solid B+ grading score. There's room for growth. He stumbled on a few words. He did the weird, creepy stammer thing. He kept clearing his throat. He needed, to be more hydrated beforehand, or maybe that's just a sign of age that you can't really do much about. But in the end, he spoke well. He can still speak well. He stumbled a little bit at times, but I'm going to grade him as a B+. So what are your thoughts about Joe Biden's State of the Union address? Do you think it was successful, or do you think it was a catastrophe? So let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.